Hi there, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Mia and I am the maker behind Knit and Grace. And so it's been quite a while since I posted a video on this channel, so I want to apologize for the long hiatus. Just life and things have been a little crazy. So I wanted to sort of post a little bit of a life update for you all. And since we recently went on kind of a mini vacation, not really a vacation, but we went to my sister's house up in the Catskills in New York. I actually filmed a little sewing video where I catch you up on everything that has been going on in my life recently. So I just put together a little vlog of the week that we were there, so just a few clips here and there. So I think like the first 3 to 5 minutes will just be, some music along with some clips of, the nature out there, some of the sewing and knitting that I've been getting up to, and then you'll get into the actual sewing content, which is more of a sew with me video than a sew along, as I've had in the past on my channel. And then we're just gonna end the video with I think like 4 to 5 minutes of actually footage that I took when I was there in the spring, but I happened to be wearing the same dress as the footage in the sew along video. So that's just footage of me literally just sitting on the lawn in the spring knitting for about 4 or 5 minutes with some nature sounds. So I've sort of put this together. This was filmed about 2 weeks ago now, but I wanted to film an intro. I didn't really want to do the intro while I was there since I didn't know how the vlog would progress. So I hope that you enjoy this type of video, and without further ado, here is a little vlog of my week away making and creating. Okay, so I think the way that I'm going to set this up is I am going to just sew a pattern and then sort of catch you up on life things along the way in between the actual like sewing. So it's not going to be like a tutorial, it'll just be like sew along, sew with me, that kind of thing. So I'll turn you around and show you all how I've set up my my sewing setup here at the Airbnb or Vrbo that we're staying in, which also happens to be my sister's house, if I haven't already mentioned that. So I kind of set myself up the same way every single time, and I'll show you how that looks, and hopefully it's not too backlit while I'm sewing, so we'll see how this goes. So this is the overall sewing setup, and you know, it is a little backlit, but this is kind of how I set everything up. This is the Collage Gather top by Matchy Sewing Club that I'm dress hacking, that I have to finish. I just have to do the armbands, the bias tape around the neck, and then hem it. But the project I'm going to be working on today, which I mentioned in my free sewing pattern video, is the Peppermint Pocket Skirt. So I have my iPad set up for instructions. I have some cutting things just in case, my tailor's ham. I've already cut the pieces, so I like to bring all of my pieces already cut whenever I come, so I don't have to do any cutting or anything, and I can just sew. We have some wildflowers that we picked, but we have this tabletop ironing board here that she has here, so I just set it up over here with the iron. I have my bobbins here. I have to change that up. Over here we have the other pocket skirt that I made that I'm not sure if I've shown on the channel yet, but this is the first one that I made. I wore it to take some pictures yesterday, so that's there. But my sewing machine and my serger is all set up over here, and then I sew with this beautiful view in the background. So it's a pretty sweet setup, if I do say so myself. Okay, so a little bit on the skirt that I am sewing up today. Again, it's the pocket skirt from by Paper Theory for Peppermint mag. And I actually am making it in the same 100% linen that I made my Peppermint Peplum top dress hack out of. So if you recall, a couple podcasts ago I did a haul, and I hauled 4 yards of this fabric, and so when I made the dress hack I only used 2 yards of the fabric, and then when I made the first version of this skirt I also only needed 2 yards for my size. So I'll insert the size that I'm working on here, but essentially you know, no really major mods to the pattern. I did shorten it by 7 inches because it is drafted for someone who's 5'7", and I'm 4'11 and a half. So when I first made the pattern I kind of just hacked it up and just winged it, and luckily it turned out great. So I'm doing the same exact thing but in this pink fabric, and I've been wearing the white version to death, so really excited about that. So the first step is to put your side panels together, so essentially construct the side pocket. So the pattern itself has a front, a back, and then it has like a side upper piece and a lower panel, and so that's how you make the pocket. So first step is to put my panels together. Okay, so I figured I would chat with you while I prep the panels. I've sewn them together And the pattern says you don't have to overlock or zigzag stitch the inside edge because it will be on the inside. But because this is linen, I just went ahead and did that anyway. So now I'm gonna actually create the pocket by doing, you know, the folds and all of that. So while I do that, I figured I would catch you all up on things that have been going on. So, so I guess, you know, obviously I didn't film a July podcast. I don't think, so I think my last video is my June podcast episode. I didn't put up a second episode in June, and I didn't film a July podcast episode. And the reason for that is just life has been very hectic. I got a new job at work, a new position, sort of same department, still doing HR, which is what I've been doing for the past, I don't even know how many years, since 2012 or 20, yeah. So about 10 years now. And so just within sort of like a different discipline in HR. And so I've been working on getting up to speed in that. We're working on a major project within the HR department as a whole. And that was kind of where this opportunity presented itself as I was looking for something new to do. And it's been very fulfilling. It's been very busy. So yeah, between starting the new job, I also started taking some post-grad classes for a post-grad certificate in change management, which is what my new job is in. So still within the human resources space, but just a little bit different. So as things have just been pretty hectic. So with that, also my anxiety unfortunately flared in June, and I really didn't do much of anything with regard to knitting. So that's why there wasn't a July podcast episode. However, I have been doing a lot of sewing, which I think I'm going to do for August. I'm going to do, you know, a regular knitting podcast, because since I've gotten my knitting mojo back, I have been doing quite a bit and finishing a few things, so I do want to share that. But also just, I think I need to have a separate episode just to go over everything that I've sewn, because it's been a lot. And I think that's kind of been a theme with me whenever I'm super stressed out and stuff like that. I tend to do a lot more sewing than knitting, and I think that it really is just a byproduct of my anxiety. You know, if you have anxiety or you struggle with mental health, you may know anxiety is really sort of like very forward thinking. You're thinking about the future, you're thinking about, you know, what could go wrong kind of thing. Where knitting is very much like centered in being in the moment, right? So a lot of the times when I'm having really high anxiety times, I don't want to knit because I can't actually stop my brain for all intents and purposes to really focus on the moment. So I was doing a lot of sewing because I get a lot of, you know, that instant gratification from my sewing projects, which is nice. And yeah, other than that, you know, we're sort of in the summer. We had a huge milestone for the project that I'm working on. So the last week in June and first week in July, we were in all-day sessions for 2 weeks straight. And I think that that's really what helped me sort of get back into knitting, which is perfect timing because I had signed up for a test at the beginning of June while I was still, you know, knitting pretty regularly, and I really hadn't made any progress on it. And then ultimately, you know, I was able to actually bang out a sweater in a week, which I've never been able to do before. But Yeah, this is going to be a little bit of a rambly video, so I have no clue what I'm talking about at this point. But yeah, you know, sort of things have been really crazy at work, back in school. And so this week was actually my birthday. So today, as I'm filming this, is Thursday, and we're coming up to the end of our vacation, but my birthday was on Tuesday, so 2 days ago. And where was I going with this? No clue where I was going with that. So yeah, so we got away. We took a week off, which I haven't taken any time off, you know, since my leave of absence. And so I think that I was also very overwhelmed from that, also coming back to work in general. So it's been nice. I'm going to insert some footage along the way, if I haven't already, of our vacation, of a few things that we've been doing. But yeah, I mean, other than that, the summer's off to a good start so far. A lot of knitting again, still a lot of sewing, and I think that's about it for updates on our side. But I just sewed, or I just ironed the pocket, and let me tell you, like, the iron in sewing is actually more important than your sewing machine, in my opinion. Like, it's really going to make or break the difference with regard to your sewing. So I've gone ahead and pre-pressed the pockets and clipped them down. So I'm going to do my basting stitches at this point, I think. Yep, so I'm going to do my basting stitches, and then it's going to be on to getting these panels sewn together. This project really comes together pretty quickly. If I weren't filming this, I think I could probably put this together in like an hour. But I'm gonna go ahead and sew this, and then maybe I'll insert some footage of this week away while I do that for you all. Okay, so I have basted my pockets, and one thing that I'm not sure if it was in frame before that I did, that you may have noticed, is I actually, once I folded the pocket up, I actually trimmed the excess. And so because of the nature of the pocket skirt, the pockets are actually at the top are wider than the skirt panel itself, because you want some extra fabric so that the pockets lay open, which is how I did it for my original version, because I used like a lightweight cotton shirting. But for this version, I actually trimmed down the excess because I'm using a heavier weight linen. So as you can see, because the linen is pretty heavyweight, the pockets already fall open pretty good amount on their own. So I didn't want them to fall open too wide, so that's why I did that. So just something that you might want to consider if you're making this project with a little bit of a heavier weight fabric. But I did not do that with my original version. So now what I like about this project is that you're essentially now just going to sew all the panels together. So now you have 4 panels, you just sew them all together, and then you serge them all, and then you do your hemming and your elastic casing at the end. So I'm gonna go ahead and take my first panel and do that. So yeah, so I think I've caught you all up on what's been going on over the last couple of months. Some other things, oh, let me grab my clips. So yes, I'm hoping to be able to put out more regular content again with this channel. I think I'm getting my bearings around my new position at work and that kind of stuff. So I'm hoping that I'll get back to a good rhythm. But to tell you a little bit more about where we're staying, we're actually staying at my sister's house in upstate New York. In the Catskills region. She bought this house in the spring, and if you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen, you know, I've shared our staying here quite a few times actually. Sorry, just making sure my notches match up. So yeah, I've shared our staying here a few times before, and it's just like she she bought a house. There's like a 5.5 acre, almost 6 acre property. So there's tons of beautiful nature around, and it's in a pretty quiet area, so it's nice. A lot of hiking, a lot of stuff like that to do. So we've been up here for the week. We came up on Monday. We're leaving tomorrow morning, and she is Airbnb-ing this place, so I'll actually link the listing if you're interested in taking a look, if you're ever in this area, because I know a few people actually on my Instagram stories have commented asking where I am, so I'll link it below. But we came up here for my birthday, and we're leaving at the end of the week, and it's gonna be back to the real world. So I'm gonna go ahead and get sewing on this, and I will speak to you in the next step. Okay, so I have put together all of the panels. So it's looking like a skirt. This is inside out. And I've gone ahead and serged the raw edges. So again, this skirt comes together really quickly. My husband is watching Narcos right now, so he's 38 minutes in. I've asked him to pause a couple times while I talk to you all, so this is probably not even an hour's yet worth of work. So now you just have to press the seams toward, the front and the back, so away from the pockets, and you can top stitch if you'd like. I'm not going to, but at this point it's pretty much ready for me to, once I do that, do the elastic casing. So I'm gonna go ahead and press this and tell you all a little bit about what I brought with me on the trip with regard to crafting, because again, away for a week in any crafter's world is a long time, and then also the fact that we're driving distance from home. I obviously bring my sewing machines with me. So where we are, we're in the Catskills. We're about 30 miles west of Woodstock, so about 45 minutes to like downtown Woodstock. It's like 30 minutes to the outskirts of Woodstock. And so that's about 2.5 hour drive from our home. So it's a very short trip away, and we're so lucky that, my sister pretty much has let us stay up here for this week, and then also, we come up here every so often, not only as a family, but if she doesn't have any bookings, we'll pop up here for like a weekend or so. So what I brought with me, I actually brought 5 sewing projects with me, which I think was very ambitious, but I've actually been dealing with a bit of insomnia for the past 2 weeks. So if you all recall, at the beginning of the year, I actually took a leave from work because I had really bad insomnia and I hadn't been sleeping for about 6 months. And ever since then, I've been pretty okay. But, every so often with insomnia, it does, flare up. And I usually get insomnia for like a week or for a day or two. But this time it's been like kind of like 2 weeks where it's been on and off. Not every single day, but definitely a full 2 weeks of on and off insomnia. So I'm going to have to sort of take some medication for I'll probably take medication for another week or two just to get myself back on track so I don't derail my sleep. But because of that, my energy has been pretty low, so I actually haven't been able to do tons. But In terms of sewing projects, what I brought up was I brought up the skirt, I brought up the gather dress, the gather top, collage gather top by Matchy Matchy Sewing Club, which I showed you sort of hanging on the chair. I'm going to try to finish that one today as well, but I'll probably do that off video and then just insert some footage of me wearing it. So those are 2 projects. I brought also a pair of Flint pants by Megan Nielsen that I had already cut in black linen. A Matilda dress, also by Megan Nielsen, that I had cut. And then, what else did I bring? A Hadley top from Green Line Studio. So I brought 5 projects out of the 5. I'll finish 2. In terms of my knitting projects, and as you may be noticing, I've just pressed the seams. But one thing that I know, or that I've learned from sewing, to make your garments look super professional, is not only pressing the seam on the inside, but actually turning the garment right side out and pressing the seams from the outside for a really crisp seam before you continue the project. So that's what I'm going to do now. So those were my sewing projects. In terms of my knitting projects that I brought, I did bring some things that I wanted to finish, because again, since I kind of lost my knitting mojo for a while, I hadn't really been knitting for a while, and I had some whips that have kind of been languishing. So I brought with me my half and half triangles wrap that I've been working on slowly on like train rides, the commute, or longer car rides. And so what I did there was, I didn't bring the whole wrap because I wasn't going to finish the whole wrap, but I was maybe like 3/4 of the way done with the second skein of my first color. So each color takes 3 skeins. So I was 3/4 of the way through with the second skein, so I brought that up on the drive, and I wanted to be able to finish that, which I actually did on the drive with I think I had 30 minutes to spare before we got here. Then I also brought up the back of my, I forget the name of the top, but it's the top that I had began the test knit for Jackie Cieslak. I'll insert the name here, but I brought the back of that because I was pretty much almost done. And yesterday I picked it back up, and I should be binding off the back this afternoon. So that'll be perfect, and then that means when I get home I'll be able to seam it, and then that'll be done. And then the third project that I brought was my Stockholm sweater, which I don't know why, but I just can't get back into it. And I don't know if it's because, and it's not because of the heat, I will say, because I finished my test for Bella of 100 Acre Wools in a week, like I mentioned, and that's also a Newtoden held, and that one is Newtoden held double. So it's not even a heat thing. I don't know if it's just it's so plain that I'm just ugh, I don't want to knit on it. But I think it's actually perfect that I finished my half and half triangles wrap, because then that means I won't have anything to knit in the car right home, so it'll force me to knit that. So I have about half of a sleeve and then 1 sleeve to go on the Stockholm sweater, so I'm about done with that. And so maybe, I think I can definitely finish 1 sleeve, and then maybe, finish the other sleeve sometime this week. I'll have that project to show you all in my next podcast episode as well. And then I brought up some yarn from some Newtoden yarn, one of the new colors from the latest collection, the color Vanessa, and I actually was able to ball that up while I was here, and I have some plans for that yarn, so I'll probably be making up my gauge swatch. So I can cast that on as soon as I'm finished with my Stockholm sweater. So I've gone ahead and pressed the skirt, as you see here. I think, let me see. Yeah, so the next step is to do the elastic casing. And I think what I'm going to do, because again, this is 100% linen and it's fraying quite a bit, I actually think I'm going to go ahead and serge all the way around before I fold the casing down. But yeah, while I do that, I'll actually, since I just mentioned the Newton Vanessa, I will insert some footage of me sitting on the lawn on Tuesday, balling that up with some sweet animal sounds in the background for you all to watch while I finish the elastic casing on the skirt. Okay, so I've gone ahead and done the waistband, and I have my opening for the elastic. So I'm going to go ahead and thread the elastic, and I thought I would come on and talk about sort of my two favorite tools that I feel like you never really take seriously when you first start sewing, and then once you get them, you're like, how did I live without them? The one is so inexpensive. The other one is a little bit of an investment, especially if you're kind of like I am with regard to spending money on some of your sewing supplies. But definitely worth it. So the first one that I'm using right now is a bodkin. So I'll actually show you that in a second, because I'm obviously threading this right now, and let me pin this down. So I'm just gonna pin the end of my elastic band to the skirt so I don't accidentally pull it through. But so I guess the first one that I can show you is this, let's see if it'll focus, but it's a hot press ruler, and essentially it helps you with your hems or anytime you need to press anything, like, you know, in my case I had to press the waistband down, and so it actually has like little markings like a ruler, and it's made of felt so you can press your projects. So that has really been like a very good tool that I've been using recently that I thought I should mention. Because I feel like as a new sewist, I was like, do I really need to invest in these things? And you don't if you don't want to, obviously. But I've just found that it's made my life a lot easier, especially when, if you're like me, which most likely you are, we have such a limited time to spend on our crafts. So it's really nice to have that. So let me know what you all have been up to in the comments below. Also, let me know what kind of videos you guys want to see from me, especially as we get into the fall, which I feel like is like prime knitting season. So I want to make sure, you know, outside of the podcast episodes, what kind of videos you all want to see from me. Obviously, I think, you know, we'll have a few sewing videos, but that's just due to the season. I definitely sew a lot more. So let's see. Okay. So I threaded the elastic through. Let me show you this little tool. So it's called a bodkin. And it literally is just like, it looks like big oversized tweezers. And you use it to thread your elastic through. So I'm going to go ahead and sew my elastic together. Let's see, I think I did a 1-inch overlap. So I'll sew my elastic together. I'll probably go ahead and close the casing and then actually just probably go ahead and hem the skirt right away, and I'll probably end the video here. Put in some more clips of stuff that we've been doing, and yeah. Okay, so the skirt is completely finished. This is what it looks like. Again, kind of probably looks weird since it's the same fabric as the dress that I'm wearing. So now it just needs a good press, and I'll try to, I guess I'll insert some footage. I'll try to wear it. It's pretty bright out right now. It's supposed to thunderstorm at some point today, so hopefully I can get some footage of me wearing the skirt. And hopefully this vlog, so long, whatever it ends up being, turns out to be cohesive. Just thought to put something together randomly, and then with random footage that I caught over the week, and then, you know, sort of find a way to wrap everything together in the form of this sew-along. So I just have to give the skirt a good press, and then hopefully take some pictures. But other than that, thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I know it's been quite some time. I'm hoping to get this out. It'll definitely be out before my next podcast, so it'll either be out this weekend after I'm filming, depending on how quickly I can edit, or, excuse me, or the weekend after, so, you know, the last weekend in July before my August podcast. It'll definitely be out before the August podcast. And so yeah, I hope this video found you well. Please be sure to like and subscribe and do all the things if you enjoy my channel. And then also, of course, leave me some video ideas in the comments. If you have any videos that you would like me to film over the next couple months, that, you know, outside of just the regular podcast episodes. So I hope you're well. I hope you have a good weekend, or have had a good weekend, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.